So I want to do a quick video because there are some myths that seem to be reoccurring that I myself bought into a long time ago when it came to suicide. In the last 6 years, over 700 interviews, I myself have become educated on this kind of ever-evolving subject, and the more people I learn from sleep medicine and nutrition and meditation, all these other areas, the more these lines intersect and you find these truths. But one of the most heartbreaking things I think you hear from people when it comes to someone having taken their own life, which has happened here in the fire department that protects my family 4 times. We've lost 4 suicides in the last few years and then 2 overdoses as well. And friends of mine have said the same thing. How could they do that? Why would they be so selfish? What a cowardly thing to do. And I want to just touch this for a moment because I think it really is one of the least discussed areas of this whole mental health conversation. I can tell you categorically, hands down, through all the conversations I've had on the podcast, that the people that have come on the show that actually attempted to take their own life and survived their attempt, or the many, many people that were about to and a relative happened to pull in right when they were going to, or someone called, or they remembered that their dog needed to be fed, whatever it was, a key moment snapped them back into reality. There's 2 truths. One is obviously these people are suffering, okay, whether it's mental pain, physical pain. There's a desire to end the misery, and I totally understand that. I don't think anyone has a misunderstanding of that. But the other side that people always say is, I felt like I was a burden to my wife, my children, my dog. And that's something that people don't think about. When a healthy brain thinks about, and a perfect example is the 2 law enforcement officers we lost in Florida just 3 or 4 months ago, and they had a newborn baby, is, well, how could they do that? How selfish. To a healthy brain, that makes no sense. One parent takes their own life, and a few days later, the other parent takes their own life. To the healthy brain, they're like, why would you do that? You had this beautiful child, now you've left them vulnerable, they're going to have their own trauma as they progress through their lives. But that's a healthy brain, and this is the part of the conversation that gets lost. Through unaddressed childhood trauma, and there is so much childhood trauma in the world, especially in the uniform professions. I forget the exact statistics, but nearly all of us have a high score on the ACEs scale. Acute childhood experience, ACE, yeah. And because we're drawn to this profession, if you were hurt, there's a good chance that you're going to want the hurt to stop, and you're also going to find a profession that is exciting, that fills that void that you have. So you already have that early childhood. Then you enter a profession like first responders, military, medical, and all the other professions. I'm not just specifically talking about the uniform professions, but this is the group of people near and dear to my heart. So we're in that profession now. Now we see and do some horrific stuff. We try and save lives and unable to. We might have to take a life if we're in the military or in law enforcement. We have the terror that we see. We have the people left behind. The mourning is what tears at my heart. It's not the actual dead body. It's the screaming of the people that are grieving that are left behind. You have sleep deprivation. That is a horse that I flog over and over again as far as a subject. There is irrefutable evidence that sleep deprivation causes mental ill health. And you look at so many of our professions, the shifts that we work, we have a very high suicide and addiction rate, and we also have such chronic sleep deprivation. You have organizational stress. A lot of us work for agencies that maybe are pushing against us. My last one was horrific. I was swimming upstream the whole time, simply just trying to do good, trying to raise the standards on training, on physical fitness, on wellness, etc. Then you have the psychiatric meds. So some of these people are depressed. And you look at the side effects. Watch a commercial. It lists them right there. Suicide, ideation, all these other things. Alcohol, another huge compounding element. When we want to wind down, when we want to forget, when we want to go to sleep, we self-medicate. Alcohol is not only, reduces our aversion to harm and self-harm, but also it destroys our sleep. So we come off shift having not slept, then we drink, and we continue not to sleep until our next shift when we don't sleep. So you think about this perfect storm, then you add relationship issues, and then the ripple effect of us becoming more depressed or more angry and what that does to the people around us. And so you get this broken brain, okay? So this, and I always give this analogy, imagine if you go up against the edge of a very, very tall building, there's an invisible hand that's pushing you back. Oh, what are you doing? You almost get that kind of like pain in your gut or even your groin. It's like, no, bad idea. The broken brain, the hand goes down to the back. And it basically tells the person, you are such a burden to the people around you, you would be better off, or they would be better off, if you just killed yourself. And that sounds crazy because people listening, a lot of us are hopefully in a place where our mind is healthy, and it should sound crazy because the actual nucleus of any species' existence is to carry on our DNA, carry on our lineage, and by taking ourselves out, that negates all of that. Even if we've had children, we're now not able to protect our children. So when you think about, on top of all these, that we are in a profession where we have taken a vow at the beginning of our career into law enforcement, military, fire, EMS, that we will risk our lives. I will physically risk dying in a house fire to try and get to your child. So now you've got a group of people that are already come to terms with the fact that if it's for the betterment of someone else, I will die. Which is a crazy thought for most people, but that's the people that are wearing the uniform, the good people. So, but then you take that with the broken brain. Now you've got someone who feels like they're a burden, and if I take myself out, if I kill myself, then my child will be happy. I'll take the pain away from my child. They're scared of me now. My wife's always crying. All these things. That is where this, oh, it's selfish, oh, it's cowardly, is wrong. At this point, these people are being courageous and they're being selfless, but only because their perspective is so shifted, it's so warped because of the fact that the brain is miswired. So we have to change this conversation of it's cowardly, it's selfish. At that point, these people have been allowed to get to that point where they are forced to make a courageous and selfless decision that is heartbreaking for everyone else looking in. So I just want that to kind of resonate with everyone. Take a step back. Ask yourself, is anyone who takes their own life going to be of a healthy mind? No, we already know that. So what would an unhealthy mind convince a person to do? You are a burden. You need to take yourself out of the equation. So the sooner we stop shaming people who are struggling mentally, and God forbid, shaming the dead and their families hear people talking about selfishness and cowardice, we have to stop that. It's not even a stigma. It's a complete misinformation. But no one can be blamed because it's taken me 6 years of amazing minds to really unpack, peel back the onion for me to understand personally. But I want to disseminate this one single message. There's so many others. But we have these layers that create people to have this perfect storm in their mind. And so if you have someone who's in crisis, think about your family may not be the thing to say. I would argue, people say, are you thinking of killing yourself? Another question, even before that, are you feeling like a burden? If they say yes, that is your red flag way before even the suicide ideation. The moment someone shifted, if they are feeling like a burden, that should be on the front of all these mental health posters, because that, along with the suffering wanting to end, is the common denominator of 6 years and 700 interviews, well over 700 now, that I have gleaned from this, and it seems to be a truth with almost every single one. So I hope that imparts some kind of insight, because I've talked about this before, but I want to do a video again. I've learned so much, but this is a truly life-saving perspective that everyone needs to understand.